Hello, everybody. My name's James. Welcome back to the Planet FPL Weekender, and my Friday partner in crime, David Hunter's back with us. How are you, pal?
Oh, good, thanks, mate. How are you?
Good. Yeah, not too bad. Getting over the shock news from yesterday, which we're going to cover in a second. Although it's not come as quite a huge shock to me, as I'll explain. We're going to do something a bit different this week. Bearing in mind it's the international break, the transfer window's just closed. We're going to kind of have a rundown A to W of some of the new players joining new clubs, and give you some information on them. Me and Suj are then going to follow that up on the main pod next Monday, kind of looking at best 11s. But we'll have a little discussion about the impacts of some of these signings and what we can expect for them, particularly some of the players that none of us will know. But we're going to start with the one big headline over the last few days. Daniel Levy is no longer chairman of Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. For those who are new around here, that's my club, so that impacts me a lot. David, do you just want to give your neutral view when you heard the news? Was it like a shock to you?
It probably would have been had I not kind of heard your thoughts over the last months and last year, I guess. Fair to say you're not surprised that this has all happened, really. I'll be honest, I've not, as kind of an outsider looking in, I've not really been pro or anti Levy. I can see both sides of the argument. I mean, he's obviously done good things in terms of transitioning your club into this absolutely amazing new stadium. But then there are the other side of the argument is I think people are saying he's never been kind of ambitious enough with the purse strings to kind of take you where you all believe that you should be. And that's the balancing act of all clubs, isn't it? Trying to get that right. And I think the people who will be pleased at this news have probably thought that he's been on the more cautious side, to say the least, of that side. So I guess a lot of people who support Spurs will be very happy at this news, but it's kind of what happens next, really, isn't it? That could go either way. It depends what happens.
Yeah, exactly that. There's no celebrations from me. I have to say, there's not also, I'm not crying about it either. It's not come as a shock, as you've just said. I have been aware for a couple of months that this day was probably coming. Levy himself said at the end of Tottenham's financial statement for 23-24 that the club were actively looking for investment. And that was kind of the first real indicator that the club was maybe open to being on the market for a potential sell, or at least looking for investment into the football club. Do you know who Lee McQueen is, David?
No, I do not.
So Lee McQueen is someone who regularly guests on a Tottenham podcast called The Last Word on Spurs, and he was the first ever winner of The Apprentice,
Okay.
the show which is business-like, run by Lord Sugar. Lord Sugar, of course, was the owner of Tottenham Hotspur Football Club prior to Ennick. Lord Sugar, I just call him Alan. Sorry, Al. Still has plenty of shares in Tottenham, very minute, but it will be, I think, clued up to probably what's going on behind the scenes. Now, I'm not saying that Sugar is McQueen's source, but McQueen went on The Last Word on Spurs back in June, and he said Daniel Levy will not be Tottenham chairman pretty much after the transfer window closes. He said, I don't care. I'm not looking for ITK. I'm not fishing for nothing. So I'm telling you, this is happening. And the way it was sold was so adamant. It's like, okay, I probably need to take note of that. And I'd already kind of clocked the link of where he might be getting the information from. He then tweeted on Tuesday night, I think, saying it's going to be a big week for Spurs. And that was my reaction, was something's happening with the football club, as in the sort of seismic news that this is. So it's not come as a huge shock from me. I think what happens next, I don't know. It is possible that a takeover of the football club in full is either partially happening, fully happening, or happened. I think is a possibility. But all the lines from Tottenham since the announcement last night is very much it's kind of business as new normal. There's a kind of a new um, setup where there isn't a new executive chairman. Peter Charrington is kind of going in as non-exec and had joined the club back in April. Vinay Venkatesham, who was obviously at Arsenal before, is CEO and essentially is going to be running day-to-day matters going forward. That's the line that's being sold. What's being fed to the media is that from Joe Lewis's family, that they've done a full review of the football club and are very much focused on improving the football results essentially. Want to see Tottenham be more successful. Now you hear that, that's the music to the ears. If that's the true bit, then I'm kind of happy with the direction of where this goes next. I think we've seen in the summer Tottenham act differently. To buy a Kudos is fine, but to buy a Kudos and a Simmons and buy experienced players, even though they are loans with the potential to be bought, like Kolo Muani and João Palhinha, is definitely a movement away. You only have to look at Tottenham's business last summer, which was basically Dominic Solanke and a load of kids. That's the reality. And Postecoglou had called last year for this club needs more experience. So it's possible that it was just a review and they've gone, yep, we need more first team experience quality coming into the squad. But I've been saying during the summer something weird's going on. It was off the back of those comments with McQueen quite a lot. I think Tottenham this summer have tried to act like a big club for the first time. Like
Yeah,
they've been part of a big six, but I think in this window they've tried to act like a big six club. People can be annoyed that they missed out on Gibbs White, Eze, but it was unlike Tottenham moves to a Gibbs White try and just take him on a release clause and just not even go, oh, we'll try and barter. They've just gone bang. It didn't work out. Obviously, as he went to Arsenal, Tottenham tried to compete for it. I think in the past they'd have gone, I know he wants to go to Arsenal, we'll step away. They tried, didn't work. And obviously, Xavi Simmons, everyone assumed he was going to Chelsea. An opportunity came up, and despite what happened with Eze, Tottenham didn't balk and get scared. They went for it and they got the player. So there's been little kind of nuggets during the summer to make you think that a few things were changing.
yeah.
On Levy himself, I'm probably more sad than happy, but neither particularly one nor the other. I think what you will see online is a lot of celebrations because it's probably been well documented. There's been a lot of protesting going on against Daniel Levy. But even as I keep referencing during the summer, a lot of the things that were aimed on him was that he doesn't stick by managers. He stuck by Ange Postecoglou and delivered the trophy when most other Tottenham fans would have sacked him. Doesn't deliver trophies. That manager that he stuck by delivered a trophy. Whether people think it was a fluke or whatever, it happened. It's on the record books. I think it's really important to remember the growth of Tottenham. That's the biggest thing under Daniel. So people will go 2 trophies in 24 years. That's shite. I agree. It's also worth saying it's become way more difficult to win trophies now with these superpower clubs than it was in the 24 years that predated that. You had a dominant team, David, that was Manchester United in the 90s and before that, Liverpool in the 80s. But you weren't having clean sweeps of things like United's treble in 99 or City's recent treble or teams finishing second like your team did on 97 points. Like it has become a lot harder to win trophies. In the previous years when Sugar was in charge, I mean, Tottenham were an absolute shambles during the 90s, never finished higher than seventh, regularly finished in like 10th, 11th, had a lot of battles with relegation. Up until Levy walked into the football club, I'd seen my team in Europe twice through the 90s. That then went on through the noughties till we got in after Lasagna Gate, after finishing just behind Arsenal in the 2005-06 season. And from that starting point, we spent 18 of the next 20 years in European competition. The growth of the football club in terms of its revenue is sizable. Tottenham's revenue in the year where Levy and Enick took over was less than 50 million. It's now pretty much 10 times that. And I realized the game has grown anyway, but it has turned into a bastion with this beautiful new stadium. So I think his legacy will be that actually, as time passes, I think he'll be remembered better.
I was just going to
Actually,
say that he was on the overlap not a lot long ago, actually, with Gary Neville, and he made that point, saying maybe he'll be appreciated after he's gone. I was going to ask you, do you think there's a chance of that?
well, also if it goes tits up next, then he definitely will be, won't he? Because the criticism of him has been labelled in terms of like the penny pinching, then the kind of not following through on transfers when Tottenham been linked with players, like not just going and getting them like they tried to do with Gibbs White. And there's a feeling, which I think is fair, that Levy has kind of been holding Tottenham back from the potential to be at a level like yourselves and competing for titles, etc. That's probably fair. But I think a lot of people harp on, for example, about the great Pochettino team, and then Tottenham never followed it up. They never bought a player for 18 months, not a single player, while obviously the building of the stadium was going on. But Tottenham also never sold at that point either. And
Yeah,
that was something that got labelled before. The Carricks, the Berbatovs, the Robbie Keanes, etc., got sold or taken away. You had the odd one like Modric, Bale after that, but then until Harry Kane, essentially, since Bale was the only real big Tottenham sale. During that period, he actually held on to the squad, and there was a belief that it was good enough. In fact, you'd look back at it as a negative that people like Ericsson, Dele Alli, Eric Dyer weren't sold for premiums that they might have got, when actually the three of them ended up leaving the football club basically for nothing. So I think his legacy will probably be remembered better in time, subject to what happens next. I mean, if we get taken over by a state football club, most Tottenham fans unfortunately won't care and will be like, "Oh yeah, we've got the money, we do what we want." I'm very concerned about the hands that my football club might end up in. I want us to be successful as much as the next person, but I do take pride in some of the things we've done over the last 20 years is sustainable. I think it annoys people that Tottenham have grown into this big six position despite not spending what others have spent. I'm quite proud of that, actually. Yes, I'd like to win the league every year, wouldn't everybody? But I like the way my football club's been run. I know that I know the one thing I know about Levy, he's made a lot of mistakes, but I know that he generally was doing what he thought was best for Tottenham.
Yeah,
And a lot of people will disagree with that. I'm convinced every decision he made, he thought was in the best interests of Tottenham. He's only really pissed me off twice. One, when he was looking to take the club to Stratford, which I still kind of hope in my mind was a barter into Haringey Council to say, look, we need to build a new stadium here or we're going to leave. But Tottenham were in a bidding process to take Stratford. That would have been unforgivable. I tell you what, if we'd have gone there, we wouldn't be playing in the shithole that West Ham's playing in because Levy's proposal was to knock the fucker down and rebuild it and make a proper football stadium of it. And the other unforgivable thing where the point for me was like, yeah, you can go was the Super League fiasco was unforgivable.
he's not alone
Uh,
there. Is he?
no, it's not. And even within that, when you step back and you think, why did Daniel Levy make the decision to try and put Tottenham in the Super League with the rest of the big six? And ultimately, I think the decision was that he felt he had no choice. He couldn't let the other five just break away.
Yeah,
So it's like, will we make a decision? We're either part of this or we're not part of this. So he went with it. God knows how the six of them got in that mess. But that was the unforgivable thing. But even within that, I understood that he probably felt he was making, even though wrongly, the best decision for Tottenham Hotspur. So
yeah,
yeah, end of an era. It's 25 years basically as chairman. It's a big deal. He's so recognisable, I think, to even the neutral fan as Tottenham's chairman. We'll see what happens next. But I'm neither bullish or gutted or I'm somewhere in the middle, David. I'm
yeah.
conscious of what's next and aware of it.
Sometimes it's better the devil you know, isn't it? Really.
Well, that's the danger.
Yeah.
Let's hope that that's not the case. I hope we're sitting here in 5 years and I'm like, God, we should have got rid of him sooner. By the way, for those who think he stood down, he hasn't.
No, no. you could
He ha-
you would think that from the statement that was released last night, but uh,
yep.
yeah, on further reading, he's been pushed out, hasn't
No,
he?
he's been pushed.
Yeah.
He's been pushed out. Um, he'll either enjoy. I mean, it's worth saying he still has a big stake in ENIC, but he's now going to have nothing to do with the day-to-day running of the football club. I wouldn't be surprised if he got involved in another football club. It's a
Mhm.
possibility because it might be like a drug to him, quite possibly. Or he might just go into retirement now because he's not short of a few quid, right?
No,
So yeah, but he's been pushed. That needs to be made clear. He's not stood down. Someone above him has made a review and said you're out, and that could be that it's the Lewis family. It could be that it's come from investment either into ENIC or in the football club that we're not aware of as yet. But the noises from the Lewis family seem to be that yeah, they want to really push the football club on to be more successful. Basically, what's happened is Joe Lewis got done, right, and accused of some dodgy stuff out in North America. And essentially, the football club had to be put in a trust, which essentially his kids have got hold of. His kids, supposedly, are really keen to get involved and push Tottenham forward. If that's what it is, I'd be quite happy with that.
maybe it's a case that you're now settled in the new stadium now, and maybe you don't need to be as financially prudent because that is a massive revenue earner, isn't it? Now your stadium with all the events that come with that as well. It's like state of the art, isn't it? Maybe even above Levy, they thought we need to start. We need to
But
start.
Tottenham again have had a big net spend this year, and they've had plenty since the 2019 Champions League final. Tottenham have been one of the biggest net spenders in world football. Now a lot of that's been spent badly, right? After that final, They spent 60 million on Dombele. They spent a load on Giovanni Lo Celso, Ryan Sessegnon, a few others. Like, it was a bad window, right? When Tottenham had acted, Tottenham got to the point of being pretty good by investing in young British players. The problem is, then after that, Pochettino went and the club lost its alignment of what it thought it should be, its an identity. They then thought, right, Pochettino couldn't deliver. We'll get the ultimate win now manager, and the club has been trying to restructure the squad. It feels constantly, pretty much since then. Pochettino warned it would need a massive rebuild after the Champions League final. 6 years later, we're still trying to do it. I don't think that's a joke. So yeah, let's see what happens next. But I'm not sitting here jumping for joy. It was still a surprise to read the statement last night. But yeah, Daniel Levy has been pushed. I think that's the big message. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk transfers. As I said, we're going to do a bit of A to W rundown. Some of the players you'll know that have obviously moved between clubs we'll touch on. What we're going to do is we're kind of focus primarily on 12 clubs rather than all 20. Reason for that being is we're two clash of correspondents out this week. So City and United, and obviously Brentford, Chelsea. We covered off their transfers there. Next week, there's two more clash of correspondents: Bournemouth versus Brighton and West Ham versus Tottenham. So we'll cover a bit of business with those four clubs primarily on those podcasts next week as well. Although we won't be talking too much with Brighton because they're one of only two clubs to not sign a player since you and I last recorded this time last week. We said it would be mad, David, and it was.
It was absolutely bonkers. Yeah, £3 billion in the window been spent by Premier League clubs over the window. Yeah, I think we called it, didn't we? I don't think we probably realised quite how mad it was going to be. But yeah, everyone except Brighton and Leeds have signed a player since last Friday's weekend, just to put it in black and white for you.
Yeah, just a little line on Leeds, because I think that would be a surprising one. There are some murmurings. I'm not saying it's true, but I have heard some suggestions from a few people online that Leeds might be close to the PSR line. So that would possibly explain it. I have even seen some suggestion that they may need to sell a player now. And there are a couple of transfer windows still open. Although quite what the sellable asset would be at Leeds, I'm not sure.
I was just thinking about that. Yeah, who is the cash cow
I
in
don't know what it would be, to tell you the truth. It would be something like Ampadu or something.
Yeah.
Is he going to want to go to Turkey or Saudi Arabia? I don't know.
Yeah, there's no obvious one, is there? Dan James. I don't think he's going to get.
Don't be stupid, mate. Such was here now, he'd go Mr. Crapid, wouldn't he? Right, let's have a run through of clubs anyway. So Arsenal have got a new left-sided defender in. Unfortunately, he's a player I really like. Go on, David, give us the detail.
Not the first time this has happened, is it?
No, but won't be the last either, I'm sure.
Yeah, this is Piero Hincapié. Arsenal signed him on loan from Bayer Leverkusen with an option. I think it's an option.
It's essentially it's done, isn't it? They just didn't want the money on this year's financials.
Yeah, which has happened a fair bit. I guess if you can do that, then not put it on the books, then it's a good way of doing it. Yeah, Arsenal have managed to get really good cover for their centre. Obviously, Gabriel and Saliba is one of the kind of modern day iconic centre-back partnerships in the Premier League now. But I saw for myself Mosquera at Anfield on Sunday. Came on early for Saliba, and I was really impressed with him, actually. He was very confident, often kind of showing for the ball and asking Raya to give it to him in his own 6-yard box, which, at Anfield in a big game like that, some defenders may kind of play it safe there. So Mosquera will cover Saliba. Hincapié, based on what I've seen from his heat map, he's a very left-sided player, so he would be competing or maybe a backup for Gabriel. So it's two excellent covering centre-backs now Arsenal have got. Hincapié can play multiple positions, so he is a centre-back. He can also play left-back, but predominantly for Leverkusen under Alonso, they play with the back three, and he's been the left-sided centre-back of the back three. Plays left of the two for Ecuador. He actually played for Ecuador last night alongside PSG's William Pacho. So he'll offer different functions for Arteta. In terms of the data side of things, quite comfortable stepping into attacking areas, which he would need to do as a left back when he's played there for Leverkusen. Attacking data against other centre backs is quite favourable. Shows well for progressive passes, so just under 5 per 90 for Leverkusen in the Bundesliga over the last year, and does pose some goal threat as well. Non-penalty XG of 0.09 per 90. Um, so yeah, he's only 23. Good experience in Europe, won a Bundesliga. It's hard to fault this as a signing, I think. And if he was to play left back, similar to the way Calafiori has been, another big lad option as a centre back, which I know Arteta likes to do sometimes. So yeah, good ticks in the boxes all over the place really for Nkapia, I think.
Yeah. My opinion from the few times I've seen him, he was too good to be a backup player for anybody. Um, I think there's every chance that he might become the first choice left back as the season progresses. I don't think he's going to be going straight into the team. He's coming at 5.5 in FPL. Probably wants monitoring maybe for the longer term under a circumstance where Calafiori was maybe injured and he gets in and he's ahead of Lewis Skelly. There is a feeling that Arsenal potentially want to have a left back that really pushes higher, that would maybe allow Eze to play off the left and come into more central dangerous zones. And despite being traditionally a centre back, I very much think it's a role he can fulfill. I saw him play a game for Leverkusen a couple of years ago where he played left of the back three, but ultimately he was left winger.
Yeah,
So the left wing back went inside and he just kept pushing on down the touchline. Very comfortable on the ball, good aerially. It's a very, very astute signing. He was the player that I wanted when Tottenham got Mickey van der Ven. I'm not complaining that Tottenham got Mickey van der Ven, but we knew we needed a left-footed defender. He was the one that I wanted at that time. And we
yeah,
had been linked with him again. It sounds like Tottenham did, to kind of give you again a note on Tottenham's evolution this summer. It does sound like Tottenham went outright to Leverkusen and went, "What do you want?" Got quoted a fee, were interested in having discussions, but the word from Hincapie's camp was that he wanted to go to Arsenal. So Tottenham didn't pursue it.
yeah, yeah. Good pickup, I think. Yeah, shows up well all over the place.
Yeah, few. Well, I say few. There's three familiar names that have landed at Aston Villa that we'll cover off briefly because you know them. Victor Lindelof has joined as a free agent. That's an important signing for Villa because, as you would have seen in game week 2 at Brentford, ended up playing two left footers at centre back in Mings and Pau Torres. So they need another right footed one. He won't take Ezri Konsa's place, but does offer nice rotation, particularly for Europe, and a bit of balance, I would say. Jadon Sancho has gone there on loan. Deep breath. Sounds like Villa are picking up around about 80% of his wages. For the Villa fans who keep screaming that it's unfair, I suggest you stop spending money on wages personally, on shite. I hope Jadon Sancho does well. I got nothing against him. But I just think it will end up going on loan somewhere else this time next year. I do
Yeah,
think, by the way, there's every chance he'll be first choice at Villa off the left. I think there's a strong possibility of that.
I had a look at his data actually since he came to the Premier League because I was thinking if you don't watch any Bundesliga or Champions League, you only kind of watch England and the Premier League, you would probably wonder what the fuss was about with Sancho, wouldn't you? His data when first time round at Dortmund, not the second time round, was absolutely excellent. But he's kind of only averaging zero point 0.2 goals per 90, zero point 0.2 assists per 90 since he signed for Manchester United, really. He briefly shone in his second season at United, I think, but he wasn't a disaster at Chelsea last year, but didn't pull up any trees.
No, it was in some
Quite telling
interesting
that Chelsea
comments
paid to
from
get rid of him, I think. So,
yeah,
yeah,
well, there was some interesting comments from I think were attributed to Todd Boehly last week about why they didn't sign him, which I won't go into now. But you're like, okay, right, something's not right there, and it's not just footballing reasons, right?
right. There's a
Uh,
bit of rumours about that he's
yeah,
a bit like
we
that.
we'll give him the benefit of that. I hope he does well at Villa. There's no doubt he's a talented footballer, but
Yeah,
yeah,
he
I'm not
needs
quite.
next
I'm
move.
not quite sure it fits as well. Like I have a visualization of him playing off the left for Villa, and we see Rodgers play that position quite a lot, and obviously wants to come into central zones. Sancho feels like more of a touchline holding player to me. Look, if anyone can get a turn out of a player that's frustrated, I tell you what, Unai Emery has shown he can do it before. So, all right, we'll give it the benefit of the doubt for now. Harvey Elliott will definitely give the benefit of the doubt of that's a good sign. He's a loan. Is there an obligation in there, David, or not?
I think it might be actually. Yeah, I think Villa are going to buy him. I think. could be wrong on that though. It sounds like he is going to be at Villa for years, although it has been announced as a loan signing. Uh, Love him, love Harvey. You'll struggle to find a Liverpool fan who doesn't have a real soft spot for Harvey Elliott. I think he's been with us for quite a long time now. Actually, he was there when we won the title in the COVID season. Um, just really wanting to find a home where he's kind of loved and plays regular football. And I think Villa is probably about as good as you could hope for, really, in terms of stature of club and where he's going to get regular minutes. I think Villa will. My understanding is that most Villa fans, certainly within our community, think he'll eventually go straight into the team. I think he's an Emery player as well. He's a very technical player. If he was slightly quicker, he'd be an absolute superstar, I think. But yeah, we saw in the under-21 tournament last summer, that he's as good a young player in Europe as there is about at the moment. As I say, really good technical player, good playing through the lines. I think he's the sort of player Emery will really enjoy working with. And yeah, it'll be great for Villa. I'm pretty sure of that, actually. So much so that I think it's not a massive stretch to think that he'll probably be a consideration in all our FPL teams fairly soon.
Absolutely. 5.4.
Yeah, I mean, I've got Elliot Anderson, who I'm not going to move for the next game week, but mind you, I've got triple Villa, so I'd have to do some moving around. But he's
I know. Get 4 from the team that ain't scored yet. Love it.
he's such a price where I think he could make a bit of a mockery of 5.4 quite quickly. I think once he gets his feet on the ground.
Yeah, I think this is a really, really good pickup for Villa, actually. I can visualize him playing off the right.
Yeah.
Now, again, Villa like to move their wide players inside, and I can see him coming into those zones onto his left foot and getting in the right half space where he can be his creative best. He's a deceptively good ball carrier, which I don't think we notice much because, as you said, he's not the quickest. He's very much got an eye for a pass. He stood out in the Carabao Cup final, David, when you had difficulties against Newcastle. He came on the pitch and was the first player who could play through lines.
Yeah.
And I think that sums up some of the quality that he's got. I think that's a great pickup for Villa. I also think it's a good move for him as well. So that's a good bit of business for Villa. Reece Nelson's gone to Brentford on loan from Arsenal. We spoke about that a little bit with Tom midweek. We'll speak with Neil Grover about a couple of Bournemouth signings next week. Velko Milicevic, who's a young centre back. That was a good effort, wasn't it? And Alex, shall I say Jimenez, just to Alex Jimenez, I believe is a right back, come on loan from AC Milan. There's every chance he'll be first choice. Neil will tell us more about it on COTC next week. Burnley have got a well-known player to those in the UCL fantasy community from Benfica, David.
Is that right? I didn't realise he was away.
Yeah, it was a bit of a cheap enabler over the last couple of years, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that well-trodden path of Lisbon to Burnley, Florentino Luis has made, known simply as Florentino. I must admit, he was a player I wasn't that aware of, to be honest, but as always, I've done the checks where I can. What we're looking at here is an out-and-out defensive midfielder. Absolutely cracking heat map when you look at it. He just sits in front of the back four, sometimes steps up when his team's attacking, but hardly ever troubles the attacking penalty area. So you're not going to get attacking threat out of him when if you were to wonder whether he'd be an FPL option. His underlying data made me smile, really, in terms of attacking data. He's a pure destroyer. Very good data for tackles and interceptions. So maybe you would pick up DEFCON, but you're definitely not getting.
The reason the UCL fantasy, I don't know, A, was very cheap, but it used to be decent for the ball recoveries, which is what you'd get the points for in UCL fantasy.
He would have to be 4.5, I think, in FPL if he hasn't already got a price. But yeah, you could see why a play like that would be of good use to Burnley, because they're going to spend large parts of most games, I think it's fair to say, defending opposition attacks. So he's got very good pedigree in Champions League, as we've just said, and at the top level in Portugal. So yeah, on the face of it, a good sign for Burnley.
Yeah, I'm intrigued. Obviously, Chukwuebu's gone there as well. And Liam Cullen's a very different type of profile footballer who kind of ticks Burnley over in terms of the way they play. I'm intrigued to see how all three of that's going to fit in. I suspect it's probably not. I suspect it's probably going to be two from those three based on what we've seen so far from Parker. Just purely because I think if you played a flat midfield three, Cullen's probably got to be at the middle of it. And then you've got two players either side who are like good ball winners. And from what you're saying here on Florentino, he probably needs to sit
in the middle.
centrally on it.
Yeah,
So I think he'll probably stay um, with a two in that area. It's a good signing. I don't know if it's going to be enough for them. I think one of the problems Burnley have really faced, and we haven't had the 25-man squads announced yet, but Burnley might be leaving a few out possibly because they've got too many players ultimately, and that's hampered them. I think in this window quite a bit. Chelsea, I've obviously got Alejandro Garnacho in. We covered that with Gary on COTC earlier in the week. When we recorded, we didn't know factually that Facundo Buonanotte was definitively going from Brighton to Chelsea on loan. He's been left out of Chelsea's Champions League squad, which is a shame for the fella because he said last week how much he was looking forward to playing Champions League football, the poor sod. It's strange one. like him as a player, it's clearly not going to be first choice at Chelsea. Let's move on to Crystal Palace, David. What we got here?
yeah. They made a couple of signings. Obviously, their headline business was keeping one. Much to my disappointment, was Mark Gay stayed at Selhurst Park, I believe, because Steve Parish was in a spin class at the right time when the medical was being done.
Apparently, he was shopping when Tottenham were trying to seal the deal for Eze as well. So he's obviously taking a piss, isn't
he? Yeah, that's massive news for Palace to keep hold of Gay. May just be for a few more months. Maybe Liverpool or somebody else will revisit that in January, but we'll see how that goes. But they did sign a centre back called JD Canvo from Toulouse, 19 years old. He's French, capped at under 19 level. He's only started 14 games in Ligue 1, so very inexperienced, very raw. But upon further kind of research, Toulouse play with a back three, and he's played both left-sided centre-back and right-sided centre-back for Toulouse.
I know someone else who can do that.
Is that
Mark Gay?
Mark Gay, yeah. Yeah. All makes sense.
This is succession planning, is what this is.
Planning, yeah. So yeah, you don't need to be a rocket scientist to see why Palace would want someone like this. It's obviously a system they play under Glasner. But yeah, very, very raw. I don't think this is a player you're going to see in the Premier League anytime soon. But yeah.
No, I think no, what they'll probably plan for him will be, where appropriate, probably play him in the Conference League.
Yeah.
To have a proper look at him. I think even if Gay had gone, he wasn't going to go straight in the team. I think Palace would have got another one in. I guess ultimately that's the hold up with this deal, is that Palace didn't get what they wanted as a replacement, or Oliver Glasner's potential threat to leave was very genuine and people at Palace shit themselves. That's also a possibility. I feel sorry for Gay, but I don't think he's that fussed.
I don't think
he ever was. Like, he clearly wanted to go to Liverpool, but I don't think he was that fussed that it definitively had to happen, because he's got all the power next summer to choose what he wants for the salary he wants, right?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Yeah, hope we get him at some point, and I'm hoping, I've got everything crossed that we don't lose any centre-backs until January now. But yeah, Palace.
Well, I think if you did, you'd push hard for that in January.
Yeah.
And probably every chance get it done.
The other signing they've made is Christantas Uche from Getafe. They signed him on loan. He's 22, from Nigeria. He's won 2 caps for Nigeria. He's a centre forward, but has played at attacking midfield and second striker a little bit. He actually moved to Getafe as a defensive midfielder and a centre midfielder from a club called Ceuta in the second tier. But Getafe, they converted him to an attacking player. Data doesn't leap off the page, to be honest, from looking at his FBref stats. Quite raw player. But there's something to work with. He did start 30 games in La Liga last season with 4 goals and 6 assists. Likes to kind of peel off to the left from attacking areas. So again, could be a player that you would mostly see in the Conference League and domestic cups rather than Premier League in the short term, I don't think. But yeah, another body for Palace to have in the squad.
Yeah, the most interesting aspect of his signing was what Nico covered me on that show with Nico yesterday on Patreon about his statement when he left Hetafe, which is clearly written by AI and looks like an absolute replica of Fabio Silva's statement leaving Wolves. I think they were using the same AI tool. Yeah, back up to start with, although worth noting with Palace, obviously Sarr, the word seems to be he's a significant hamstring injury and going to be out for a little while. Yeremy Pino pulled out the Spain squad as well. But Kamada was outstanding in that left forward position at Villa. So, yeah, I think it'll be integrated slowly. I don't think those two signings are probably likely to impact the first 11 immediately. Is Everton's new signing an impact on Keane and Dewsbury Hall, David?
I don't think so. No. Merlin Roll. Um, Obviously, Everton will be hoping he will work his magic. That was a tap in that.
Oh, dear me.
Everton keep signing players I can make gags about. They signed Barry in the summer.
Oh, we knew you were going to do that anyway, David, didn't
Yeah.
we?
Yay.
Hey, I'm here all week.
Yeah, Merlin Roll, 23. He was playing for Germany in the under 21 Euros in the summer. Started a couple of games. I think he was mostly a bench player for Germany. So yeah, 13 under 21 caps, 3 goals, attacking midfielder. Only actually started, 11 Bundesliga games for Freiburg last season. So not been massively involved in the Bundesliga. Looking at his data, more of an assister than a scorer at the moment. But yeah, he looks like he could be. He's got something about him in terms of creativity. Underlying data, not spectacular, but obviously a young player. Looked at FB Ref, and as we all know, they give you like 10 similar players to any player based on data points. And he was compared to Abdoulaye Doucouré and Jack Harrison, which made me
I
smile.
mean, yeah, the Everton fans are gonna love that, aren't they? He's been bought for depth, hasn't he? They lost a lot of players in the summer, like those two players, Decore and out of contract. Harrison obviously gone back on loan, so they were light on squad bodies. I think it's fair to say.
German Jack.
He's obviously a young player who can progress, but yeah, he's not going to be first choice as far as I can tell.
No, don't think so. No.
All right, tell me about the signing that you're most excited about, David.
Kevin. Fulham have signed Kevin. I'm a
Kevin.
big fan generally of Brazilians who sound like they might be mates with your dad. Like we've had Alan in the past, we've had Malcolm, Kevin. Kevin is this one, and yeah, he could be really good. I think he's been signed from Shakhtar for 34.6 million
For Fulham, for clarity.
for Fulham. Yeah, from Shakhtar. Yeah, he's not won any caps for Brazil just yet, but he's a left winger. Hasn't really played anywhere else. Looking at his heat map over previous seasons, good goal record for Shakhtar. So he's made 57 appearances, 17 goals, 10 assists. He's played in the Champions League in those appearances as well. So probably won't surprise you to know that I was struggling to find underlying data for the Ukrainian league. Yeah, but he was averaging in terms of pure output 0.31 goals and 0.41 assists per 90 last season.
So we can put that in 0.72 goals or assists per 90.
Yeah, decent. Loves the shot, quite dribbly according to his underlying data in the Champions League. I think it's really exciting. Yeah, probably hope you would hope integration would be okay at Fulham because there's Muniz is a Brazilian. There might be some others that I'm missing. I don't know. Willian's not there anymore, is he? But
No, it's gone.
yeah, but yeah, I think of all the signings on deadline day, this is probably one that's probably not been talked about enough, really, because he signed for Fulham. With respect to them, he's kind of there's been more kind of sexy signings, but I think this is an exciting one. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing him play.
He's coming at 6.
Has he? All right.
Yeah.
Could be good.
It could, but that's also 1.5 more than Josh King. It's zero point 0.5 more than Muniz, who presumably is staying now.
Yeah.
So it'd have to be something that you saw with your eye or data before you went near it. But I think what's intriguing on it is Fulham have obviously played a back three in the last couple of games. It felt like a short-term move. I don't think Kevin's going to be playing wing back, and I don't think he's going to be playing as a left 10. From what you're saying, he's going to be left winger,
Yeah.
which I think means we can expect Fulham to go back to 4-2-3-1. I wonder if he's, and we don't know yet, if he's kind of a bit of a touchline merchant, what the impact on that might be on Anthony Robinson in the future for fantasy, as and when he's back. Might be that he ends up being a support player to him rather than we so used to Robinson obviously bombing up on and beyond. He's not the only new signing at Fulham, though, David.
No, they've also signed another player on the opposite flank, Samuel Chukwueze, a Nigerian player from AC Milan. He's 26, 46 caps actually, so he's been around for a while for Nigeria, 7 goals. He's played most of his career on the right hand side, so he would be the opposite flank to Kevin. Made his name at Villarreal before Milan signed him in the summer of 2023. But he's struggled really to break in as a starting player for Milan. So he probably needs a fresh start somewhere, I think. But his underlying data in last year is pretty good, actually. Non-penalty XG per 90 of 0.26, XA of 0.29, largely from the bench. So he's been able to kind of affect games as a substitute. Likes a shot, averages 3 per 90, and got good data for successful take-ons as well. So, yeah, I mean, I think I remember you saying in the summer with Lewis that Fulham haven't really done anything, and maybe they've just been waiting for the right players to pop up.
Or they've panicked at the end.
Well, they panicked at the end, but I don't think
One
they
or
have.
the other.
I quite like both of these signings profile-wise. But we'll see. We'll see if they break into the team. Yeah, decent signing, hopefully.
And Fulham have also got the best Swedish forward that moved in the market signed this summer.
Yeah, I can't think of another one.
Do you know what? I didn't even think of this. Like I was digging at Gyökeres.
Really? I thought you were winding me up there.
No, I wasn't. I forgot about his sec.
Yeah, another Swedish striker, Jonah Kusi Asare. He's Swedish, 18 years old. They've signed him on loan from Bayern, who, by all accounts, were quite clear that they were not happy to sell him on a permanent deal. So they obviously see him as a probably way down the line with Kane.
It's a loan at the moment. Am I right in saying?
That's right. Yeah, it's only a loan. Fulham don't have an option to buy. Obviously, with Kane and Nicholas Jackson there, he's not going to play up front for Bayern anymore because he is an out and out 9. From what I can gather, he doesn't really play in wide positions. Hard to see where he'll feature for Fulham, if I'm honest, though, because he's so young with so little experience, and Jimenez and Muniz are still there for Fulham. You're kind of probably just looking at domestic cups really for Fulham, and maybe cameos off the bench. But you never know, if there's an injury crisis, maybe Fulham will make use of him. But I don't think this is a lad we're going to see too often. It's my gut feeling on this, but he's a player that Bayern value highly for way down the line, I think.
Okay. Yeah, it sounds like Kevin particularly the one to watch. I just wonder, just as a note, and we'll discuss this more with Serge on Sunday, I wonder what the impact is on King if we've suddenly got Kevin on the left and Chukwueze on the right. You would think that that's fine for King, but Iwobi is a very different type of profile of player. So if they want someone in terms of the pressing element in that position, that would be dangerous. And you've still got Smith Rowe there as well. So for those thinking about Josh King, of which I am one, a little bit of caution. It's not directly his position, but it might have an impact on him, is what I would say. Go on then. That Swedish forward I forgot about, who's gone to your club for a couple of quid. Go on, David. Give us your reaction. We should party poppers out late on Sunday night when the news broke that it was kind of done. As some Sunday, isn't it? Beating your rivals for the title and then breaking the British transfer record in one go.
Yeah, from that point of view, it was good. Yeah, I was kind of just a bit exhausted by it all by the time we actually signed him. Really,
it's fucking boring, mate.
I'm very conscious of not banging on about it too much on this pod, to be honest, because I feel like it's just all anyone's spoken about for months, isn't it? But I did. He's obviously away with Sweden at the moment, so I had a little look at his Instagram earlier, and he's larking about with his mates in the Swedish camp and playing like basketball with footballs in like buckets, and he's pinging them in from 25 yards in training. So looks happy. He's obviously
broken metatarsal news to break any time now. Yeah.
sure our Newcastle friends would be so sympathetic if that was the case. Yeah, but
They've wished him well, haven't they? That statement from Newcastle was something else.
yeah. I was chuckling at Isak's statement as well. He tried to do like a heartwarming thank you to Newcastle, and it was just the as you can imagine, just a series of like rat and snake emojis that kind of accompanied all that. So yeah, I mean, I'm absolutely buzzing to have him. Obviously, can't wait to see him in a red shirt. Don't think he'll be a real bit of a slap in the face to Ekitike to take him straight out at Burnley in the next game week, I think. So, but he's obviously playing. I will be really interested to see how much and how well he plays for Sweden over the next few days. Be a great thing for Liverpool really for him to get minutes for Sweden because he hasn't played at all, has he?
He's not expected to. Worded they're playing Slovenia tonight. They're not expecting him to start.
Okay,
Do expect him to be available on the bench.
I get that.
But a little bit like with them, right? I mean, you've got sort of like Gyökeres, Elanga in their front line. So,
Yeah,
okay, Isak is a level, I think it's fair to say. But if he's not 100%, don't. And I think your club will be aware of his injury record and not throw him in. You don't need to. Ekitike has started well. I would be staggered unless there's an injury to someone in the next week if Isak started at Burnley. I'm sure we're going to see him off for half hour, 25 minutes or whatever.
that's
But
my
I'd be staggered if he starts.
yeah,
Can we also just remember that Liverpool are playing Burnley on the Sunday away, then Atletico Madrid on the Wednesday night, and then Everton at 12:30 on the Saturday?
yeah.
Do people generally think, oh, Isak's coming in and playing 270 minutes inside a week? No, they're going to ease him in. I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't start any of them games. Personally, it might be a big ask for Ekitike, but if Ekitike is doing an hour and Isak's doing half hour, I wouldn't be surprised if that's what we see across that first week or so. Obviously, eventually he's going to get in the team. There's no doubt about that. Do you think the biggest impact is to Ekitike or do you think it's to Gakpo?
Ekitike, yeah, Ekitike. I think we've seen enough of Ekitike to suggest he can drift out wide and
Yeah.
maybe that would affect Gakpo at some point and mean that we don't really need to rush Rio on the left hand side. So I know everyone's kind of scoffing that we've spent so much money, but kind of net we are a small squad than we were a few months ago because of the departures that we've had. So we definitely, Chiesa had his moment against Bournemouth, and we were all buzzing over that. But there's a bit of a drop off from Ekitike to Chiesa, if we're being totally honest. So getting Isak in when we want to achieve what we want to achieve was really important, I think.
I think there's the possibility there that what you could get is a little bit of reverse. So there's a lot of Isak and Ekitike can't play together. I think they will at some point, and you may even get Ekitike starts left, Isak 9, and you find they swap for 5-10 minutes.
Yeah,
You might even find that sort of thing because we've seen Isak do that as well. Yes, it's kind of gone under the radar. You obviously have spent a lot over these last couple of months, David. But yes, you're right. You're not even the biggest net spenders in the league. Arsenal have finally got themselves above second. Talking about number ones, a couple of new goalkeepers in at the Manchester clubs, Donnarumma at City and Lemens at Manchester United. Johnny, Alex and I have quite a bit of a chat about those guys on Clash the Correspondence. Really interesting chat with Johnny, particularly about Donnarumma maybe not being the profile of goalkeeper we'd expect from a Pep team. Newcastle signed Johan Visser. Well, at this point last week, Walter Made was done basically. So I'm going to guess that they're going to compete with each other and probably share a few minutes. I don't think Visser's not a go and dive into for FPL. He's zero point 0.5 more than Walter Made, by the way, as a reminder. Walter Made in at 7, Visser's in at 7.5. That's a watch and wait. Obviously, they've got European football. You sent me a list of players who'd made transfers and stuff I think on Tuesday morning, David. And there were 5 Nottingham Forest players. And I only heard about Zinchenko. I didn't even know they'd got. That's how mad Monday was, I think. But come on in, give me the detail on these new Forest signings.
Okay, yeah. Won't cover Zinchenko too much because I think we all know Zinchenko, don't we?
Cover.
Cover, yeah. Quite surprised he's gone there, really, because presumably, is he going to get straight in the team? I'm not convinced he will.
Nah. There'll be a relationship there. Edu's at Forest now.
Right.
There'll be some form of relationship there.
Yeah. Well, he's for squad depth, very very good pickup really. Left back midfield. We'll start with Nicolo Savona, who is a right back from Italy. Forest bought him from Juventus for 13.4 million. Uncapped by Italy at this stage. Mostly plays at right back, but he can play centre back as well. Academy products at Juventus. Played for them in the Serie A, obviously. Played for them in the Champions League. Started 3 Club World Cup games in the middle of a back 3 as well.
That's interesting.
Yeah, offers a lot of solutions potentially for Nuno at Forest. Looks at his underlying data though, doesn't pose a significant attacking threat from what I can see. And interestingly, FBref compares him to Ola Aina and Kyle Walker.
So he's played in the middle of a back 3 in the summer, but he's played right back quite a lot and profiles similar to Nottingham Forest right back.
Yeah.
Okay, that's probably again cover, I would think, for Alarena. People are regular around here will know the player I really like.
Yes, yeah. Next up is John Victor. We won't say too much about him. He's a 6'6" goalkeeper. He was linked with West Ham actually before the season started, and they picked up Hermanson.
Forest bought a goalkeeper. It wouldn't have been a transfer window without that, would it?
And he's from Brazil, and he's from Botafogo. Who saw that coming? He will obviously just be a backup for Matt Sells, I think. If Forest's love affair with goalkeepers continues. But yeah, if Sells gets injured, he I guess will be the.
I've just clocked. This is the fella that was going to go to West Ham, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
While we're on the subject of Brazilians from Botafogo, they also signed someone called Cuiabano.
Where'd they get him from?
Yeah, Botafogo, yeah. Didn't really look at him because he's been loaned immediately back to Botafogo, so he won't be playing for Forest anytime soon. But they obviously bought Igor Jesus and Jair Cunha from Botafogo as well, so it's almost as if there's some sort of relationship behind the scenes between those 2 clubs. I'm not too sure what that is. The one we'll talk about at most possibly is a French guy called Dylan Bakwa. Forest picked him up for £30 million from Strasbourg. So he's 23, 621 caps for France. Predominantly left-footed right winger, but he can play on the left as well. Looked at where he played for Strasbourg last season, and he was used quite often as a right wing back, despite being left-footed. Can't think of many players who do that really.
Diallo at United can obviously.
Yeah, that's a good one actually. Yeah. So his attacking data wasn't great, but that might be because he was playing in those wing back positions. Not spectacular in terms of goals, 0.17 per 90. But his expected assists were 0.25. So obviously offers some creativity, and I guess if he was to play a little bit further forward for Forest, he could be a bit of a goal threat. I think I'm right in saying on the right they've been playing Ndoye, haven't they, since the season started? So he would be mainly a guy, Aqua, that might feature in the Europa League or off the bench in the Premier League.
Well, they've priced back at 6 as well, FPL. So again, I mean, they've done the right thing, taking no chances on this fella.
Yeah, but he's definitely got some pedigree, and they spent a fair wad of cash on him at 30 million. So yeah, another good option to strengthen Forest squad.
Another interesting line on them, and it's kind of been a feature throughout this week in terms of players getting left out of European squads. I'll have a big moan about Tottenham next week. But Amari Hutchinson left out the Forest one was particularly eye-catching because that's the record signing. I'm pretty sure Back was gone in, I think.
I don't know, to be honest. Yeah.
I think so. So I don't know what that gives us an indication that Backwell would be ahead of him. Maybe they view Hutchinson as more of a 10 is also a possibility. Okay, interesting. As it was to see John Textor on the pitch at Nottingham Forest. I don't know if that was AI. If it was, I'm sorry, but it doesn't surprise me either way. Some new incomings at Sunderland, David, who have now, I think, the highest ever spenders for a promoted club, spent over £150 million. For those interested, I did quite a piece with Suj on Money in Football this week on Patreon about Sunderland and their spending and kind of balance that off in terms of should we be concerned about them in terms of PSR or have they done their business smartly? I'm going to say that they've done it smartly.
Well, yeah, I mean, they've definitely raised the level of their squad from the one that got promoted. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Three interesting pickups, although possibly flaws in all three of them, maybe. Um, Bertrand Traore is a bit of a throwback. He's been around for a long time. 30 tomorrow, so happy birthday.
Feels like I saw him score for Chelsea like 20 years ago.
Yeah, he played in the 2014-15 season for Chelsea. That's
Wow. Okay.
how
Yeah.
long he's been around. Yeah, Burkina Faso, 84 caps, 22 goals. Very left-footed, plays on the right. Signing from Ajax. So last season, the first one since he was at Villa in 2021, where he started more than 20 games in a season. So I think it's fair to say his career's stalled a little bit in recent years. His underlying data, though, in the Eredivisie was actually really good for Ajax last season. 0.43 non-penalty goals per 90, 0.24 XA. But no, one thing,
It's a step.
it's a step, isn't it, for a club
And
that
he didn't tear it up at Villa.
he didn't know. Doing that for a club that his first priority will be to stay in the league. They'll be delighted to stay in the league. It's hard to see him kind of repeating those numbers. Next one is Brian Brobby, Mr. Brobby. Sunderland have bought him from
God,
Ajax.
never going to unhear that now. Thank you.
uh, yeah, this is an interesting one. He's only 23 from Ajax.
Sorry, Sunderland fans. There's a song there. Right,
Yeah,
get on it.
I can't believe I'm the only one to make that connection.
Bobby, Brian Bobby. There's a song there. It's got to be.
Writes itself, doesn't it? Yeah, he. So last season was his third season breaking through in the Ajax team, and his first two were fairly spectacular in terms of goals and assists. Scored a ton of goals for Ajax. Last season found it difficult. He only started 22 games, 4 goals and 3 assists. So yeah, not great numbers last season. But he's still average 0.59 xG per 90. Very little in the way of expected assists. So what we're looking at here is a pure goal scorer, without really offering much else, really. So his pedigree in the Netherlands and his age suggests it's probably worth Sunderland taking a bit of a punt on him. But I would probably question why he's been up for going to Sunderland, really, with respect to Sunderland. I don't think if he was fully fit with his pedigree, he would probably go to maybe a much bigger club than Sunderland. But he could, if he's fit and if he's confident with his pedigree, could be an absolutely great pickup. I guess it's just whether he would start with. They've got Mayender, haven't they, and Isidore, and I guess Gu's gone, hasn't he? So they probably did need a third option. So yeah, we'll see how he gets on.
Yeah, not sure. Feels like he could be first choice. Might get nowhere near it.
Yeah,
Not sure. It depends on him, I think.
yeah,
I think their new right back pickup though might well be pushing for starts.
yes. Their third signing is Lutzerel Kiertrauder, who is another Dutch player, 25. He's a right back, but can play centre back. He was linked with Liverpool actually when Slot
He was getting linked with everybody
yeah,
last summer.
obviously worked with Slot at Feyenoord, won an Eredivisie with Slot. Don't know whether there was anything in those links with Liverpool, whether it was just kind of lazy journalism, really, because he played with Slot and we needed a centre back, but those links never materialised. He ended up going to Leipzig last season and had quite a difficult season. Leipzig themselves had a difficult season last season. Data doesn't really leap off the page from a defensive or an attacking point of view, really. Suggests he's tidy enough on the ball in terms of pass completion. Looks like a player, though, who probably needs a fresh start. So, yeah, I guess he'll get in the Sunderland team and, he's won
Probably, I
17
would
caps.
say.
Yeah, he's won 17 caps for the Netherlands, so he's obviously got some decent pedigree behind him. We'll see how he gets on.
He was being linked with my club quite a bit last summer as well, ahead of the Euros. So he was a player I had an eye on. Wasn't overly impressed, I'll be honest. But
And
then I
that's
wasn't overly impressed with Sherry Simmons, and I've obviously watched enough YouTube clips this week and now decided he's the best number 10 in the world. Not quite yet. Just a line on my club, just briefly. I said Ricky is on Clash of Correspondence next week, so we'll talk quite a bit more about Randall Kolo Moani there. Primarily as well, I was going to say I've got no clue. I don't know where he's even going to play. Best position is probably nine, but best fit for Tottenham right now might be left wing. We'll discuss that with Ricky next week. As we'll discuss some new signings with Chris, West Ham's new signings. Igor Julio's joined them from Brighton on loan, primarily going to be cover. And we'll find out about Sungatu Magassa, who I certainly know Suj seems to think will go in and kind of be their new six, basically. Give us a line on a Wolves attacker transfer before we finish. And that's not Jorgen Strand Larsen leaving the club, David.
No, it's a Nigerian striker called Tolu Arokodare. Must confess, it was a new player on me. Also signed him for 24 million, actually. Again, similar to the Fulham guys, a club spending money that we didn't really get much fanfare about.
They had to get another forward in. They had
There's just
to.
so much going on, wasn't there? Yeah, this is an interesting kind of data point and heat map, really. What we're looking at here is a pure kind of goal poacher slash goal hanger, really, looking at his data. He scored a load of goals in Belgium last year. He scored 24 in all competitions for Genk, 17 of them in the league. None of them were penalties, although he did miss two. So with that in mind, his underlying numbers were pretty good, really. 0.85 non-penalty XG per 90, only 0.12 XA. So he could be one of those players for Wolves where if he's on the pitch and Wolves are kind of up against it, it's a bit like playing with 10 men, really. He's not really going to offer a lot more. Absolutely loves.
Some Wolves fans would say they normally play with 10 men anyway, so that's not good.
Yeah, he loves the shot. 5 per game he was averaging in Belgium, and he's 6'5". So I'm quite looking forward. He sounds fun, actually. But I guess he's going to be a backup for Strand Larsen when Strand Larsen is fit. I know Strand Larsen's got a bit of a knock at the moment. But yeah, we'll see how he gets on. Only 24. So yeah.
If he's pure number 9, he's not going to take Larsen's spot instantly. Probably going to see him later in games or rotated in cups. Or if they're chasing the game, you might see the two together, maybe. Because I mean, if you're putting those two and getting crosses in, you've got two brilliant targets there from that perspective. I would presume he's a backup. Although I think Wolves fans were a bit nervous that Larsen might leave at the last minute, and this was just a replacement. They need another 9. As discussed with Bradley in Correspondent Week, it was like, well, if Larsen does go, who would play up front at the moment? It was like, it was probably Hwang as it stands. So they absolutely needed to get another number 9. That's a good summary, David. Thank you for that. I must say to everybody, David's done all the work behind the scenes in terms of the data and understand a lot of these new players. So thank you very much for that. Before we finish, we're going to do a big preview of England's game against Andorra tomorrow. No, we're really not. But weekend probably will feature a little bit of England discussion next week after the game with Serbia on Tuesday. I'm obviously be discussing all the headlines over the next week or so before next week's game, week 4 deadline. David, anything else we missed before we finish, my friend?
The other thing I was going to say was I think both of us were quite hoping to do quite a bit more international stuff this week, weren't we? Because of the World Cup qualifiers going on, not necessarily England, Andorra, but there's obviously another break next month, isn't there, where we'll try and do a bit more interesting stuff around the World Cup stuff.
Yeah, we obviously aren't going to have like 20 transfers to go through in October, so we'll look more at the qualification sections there. By the way, David's joining me on Tuesday. He's going to be my regular guest on the UCL Fantasy podcast on Patreon. Just that one more line before we finish, a bit of a plug for yesterday's podcast, which was available to the public with Lauren Harris, with a bit of a WSL preview. Line from them this morning, London City Lionesses, that we spoke about quite a bit of detail. They've announced the sign of the French midfielder Grace Gayoro. We think that's for a world record £1.6 million. They've just been promoted to the WSL. They are not pissing about.
Lauren's got season ticket now, hasn't she? She was saying.
She has, yeah, and she'll go to a lot of the games at the Emirates, and she'll get up and see Liverpool, no doubt, when she can as well. So a bit of a plug for that. Yes, the plug also for our content later on Patreon today. Got a bit of an on this day for advanced tier patrons on an international game that doesn't feature England. from 19 years ago. And ask James from intermediate tier and above today at 3:30 p.m. UK time. David, thank you, my friend.
Cheers, mate.
Have a good weekend. Please be nice to each other, everyone. Cue music, please, man child.